Hi, I'm Max Winchester. Welcome to my beauty and lifestyle channel, where you'll find a mix of makeup tutorials, unbiased makeup reviews, clothing hauls and LGBTQ+ content. I'll be uploading a new video every other Friday, so if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe and hit that bell. In this video I'll be showing you how to create a glam New Year's Eve party look using the Conspiracy palette by Dawson and Jeffree Star. But before we get to the eyeshadow part, we need to get the base down. You should always cleanse and moisturise first and use the right product for your skin type. Now, just because something's more expensive, it doesn't mean it's going to be better. One of my favourite moisturisers to use is a cheap Superdrug one. It just works perfectly for my skin. As I've already done that off camera, I'll crack on with the next step, which is to apply the primer. I have combination skin, so I like to use Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Mattifying Primer. Now, using a good quality mattifying primer like this helps to control shine and stops your skin from looking too oily. It also gives your foundation something to stick to and helps it last that little bit longer. Now, make sure to put the primer everywhere that you'll be putting the foundation. You don't want to miss any spots, and if you're someone that happens to have dry skin, which unfortunately is a problem I don't have, then you'd be best off using a hydrating primer, just because it'll add a little bit of extra moisture into your skin and will help stop any foundation that's going on top from drying it out too much. Not everyone needs to colour correct, but I have super dark circles under my eyes, so I definitely do. Now, I like to use the NYE colour corrector palette because it's super creamy and it dries beautifully. Now, take a concealer brush and grab some of the peach, and then I'll pop that under my eyes. Now, the reason I'm using the peach is because it helps, believe it or not, to neutralise the blues and the purples that are under there. So when I get to putting the concealer on, they won't show through as much. Now, if you're really lucky and you haven't deprived yourself of sleep for like a couple of decades or so, your dark circles may not be as heavy, so you won't need quite as much concealer as I do. I'm slapping it on because these are almost pitch black, so there's a lot of stuff to cover up. With the colour corrector on, it needs to now be blended down, so grab yourself a damp beauty sponge and then we'll get blending down, because once it's blended down nicely it will look so much better, and the concealer, which we will be putting on in just a minute, will sit on it that much nicer. Now, if you're wondering why I'm looking off camera, I've got a mirror just to the side here so I can actually see what I'm doing. I like to get in with the edges, really helps get in. Now, you can get beauty sponges from almost anywhere these days. This particular one I bought from Amazon, just a few quid, a lot cheaper than the proper beauty blenders, but beauty sponges that you can pick up in Primark often work just as well. I've used those quite a lot myself. Now, with that blended down, we can move on to the next stage. With the colour correction done, it's time to conceal. Now, for this look, I'm using Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Instant Retouch Concealer in the shade 150. Now, as you can see, it comes with its own beautiful little wand, a little beautiful spongy foot. So if you apply as much as you need under your eyes. So I sort of like to get in there, get good coverage. So I just need that a little bit more to help go over those darker circles which I've corrected. And again, the blending will be done with a damp beauty sponge, and yeah, this one could do with a bit of a clean, but hey, I'll do that tomorrow. And get that so it's nice and evenly blended. I like to kind of go over my eyelids as well. Just get it nice and smooth. Get that all in there. Smoother the blend, the better the final look will be. I want to be able to go out, I want to be able to pull, get a few free drinks maybe, and have a cracking night. So next step's foundation. I'll be using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation in shade 150 to match the concealer that I've just put on. Now grab yourself a makeup palette, pump a few pumps of the foundation on. Now I'm going to be taking a damp beauty sponge, dipping that in, just getting, oh, too much, just getting a little bit on there, and I'll grab a mirror so I can see exactly what I'm doing, and then start applying it over my face and neck. With my face and neck done, I just need to apply foundation to my ears, create a nice even tone. Now, those of you without any piercings, like my industrials here, you can get away with just going over it with a damp beauty sponge, but I find I need to use a buffer brush just to get in and around the piercing bar there. So I tend to use a Zoeva 104 buffer brush, which I'll also use to put the foundation over the rest of my head and back of my neck. And I'll do that very quickly off camera and I'll be right back. Now for today's tutorial I'll be using Fenty Beauty Instant Retouch Setting Powder in shade Light Butter. I've picked this particular shade because I have a very slight yellow undertone in my skin and it matches perfectly for it. This particular size is actually the mini because I wasn't sure if it would match or not, so I bought this one just as a trial run, and it's sort of lasting quite a little while and definitely worth the money so far. Doing With the setting powder applied, next step is to brush off any excess powder. So the best thing to do is use a fluffy brush. This particular one is from Poundland, but it does the trick just for brushing off the excess powder. You don't need anything really fancy for that. You don't need to splash out and spend a fortune. So just quickly get that done. Today I'll be using Fenty Beauty Sunstalker Instant Warmth Bronzer as my contour powder. It's matte, so it looks absolutely gorgeous to contour with. When using contour powder, I recommend using a nice fluffy tapered contour brush such as this one that I bought from Beauty Bay. So what you do is get the powder on there. And always remember to tap off the excess because any excess powder you have could lead to fallout and you don't want that happening. Applying it, I'm going to be brushing up just under the cheekbone up to the middle of the forehead, and I'll build that up. You can use a combination of now I'll be brushing it from just under my cheekbone up into the centre of my head. Now to keep the layers even, it's a mixture of eyesight and counting the number of strokes I find also helpful, so I can try and keep both sides as balanced as possible. So just lightly up and around. Happy with a nice dramatic contour. Next step will be to add some highlight. I like to match the colour tone of my highlighter with the colour tone of my overall look, so the colour palette reads a little bit more professional and it just has more coherence to it. So for today's look, I'll be using the Fenty Beauty Kilowatt Freestyle highlighter in the shade Metal Moon. To apply the look, I would recommend using a fan brush because it will give a much more soft glow. Again, just layer up and build just on the cheekbone. Excellent. Now the highlighter's been applied, it's time to move on to next step. We're almost ready to break out the Conspiracy palette, but first I need to prime my eyelids. Today I'm going to be using the MAC Pro Longwear Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. I'm going to get in there, brush it on smoothly and make sure all the edges are actually blended out, because the last thing you want to do is have crusty makeup underneath, so the eyeshadow has nothing smooth to sit on. If in doubt, get a finger out. Eyeshadow time! Oh yes, time to break out the Conspiracy eyeshadow palette. For the transition shade for this look, I'm going to use the beautiful nude shimmer that is Just a Theory. So I'll grab a small fluffy brush and then apply that to my lids and brow bones. For this I'm using a Morphe E30 brush. Lightly build up the layers. Too much powder on all at once will cause fallout onto your already beautifully painted face. Next shade I'm going to apply is the Golden Conspiracy, just to the inner corners of my eyes. To apply the Conspiracy, I'm using a small pencil brush for a bit more precision, because it's going in the inner corner. I need something a bit smaller to fit in, so it's not going to spread the powder everywhere. Next shade I'm going to apply is Flaming Hot, and that's going to go on the outer half of the eyelids. I'm using a Morphe E13 brush for the Flaming Hot shade. And again, lightly build up the layers, build up the intensity. next shade I'll be applying is Spiraling, and again I use another fluffy brush, and that's going to be applied from the crease just up onto the edge of the brow bone. Take another small fluffy brush and blend what we've already applied, just to soften the edges just that little bit and give them a nice smoother transition. You might find after this step you might want to apply a little bit more of the gold and a little bit more of the red, just to bring back some of their intensity. To soften the outer edges and make it a bit more smoky where Just a Theory and Spiraling meet, I'm going to apply another layer of Just a Theory using the same fluffy brush. With those layers built up, it just leaves one more colour to add. The final colour I'm going to be adding is going to be Trisha, which I'll just be adding in the crease of my eyes. Now, to apply Trisha to the crease, I'm going to be using a fine detail brush, and I'll be applying a small amount of powder onto it so that I can get it neatly into the crease without it spreading where I don't want it to go. With that added, just need to blend it out a little bit so that it blends smoothly into the colours I've already applied. To do that, I'll be using this small fluffy brush, and then just light strokes, a nice sort of subtle blend in. I won't go too crazy. I want the colour to be there but not pop out. And that is my eyes done. I want a dark and sultry lip to match my eyes, so I have chosen the Shane and Jeffree collaboration lipstick in shade Shane. Now, to set this in place for the whole night, I like to use a setting spray, and my go-to is the Urban Decay All Nighter. It really does last. Like, I've gone out in full drag with this, and it sets the makeup in place, and it lasts for hours, and it lasts under the heat and the sweat and everything is perfect. Bit of good old shake. And a generous spritz. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, and off camera I'm going to quickly pop on some lashes, earrings and a pretty funky dress. I'll be right back. So, what do you all think? What shades would you wear from the Conspiracy palette to your New Year's Eve party? Drop your answers in the comment section down below. I'll be uploading a new video every other Friday, so please check back for more makeup tutorials, makeup reviews, clothing hauls, and LGBTQ+ content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe button's just down there. Go on, you know you wanna. While you're there, you might as well click the bell so you don't miss a thing. And why not check out whatever video YouTube is recommending for you to watch next?